So welcome to today's session. This is one of our free spring webinar series events, and we are talking about building a CS program. This is about a 45-minute session, but with a small audience, we might finish early or we might have a great conversation all the way through the 45 minutes. Today, the presenters are me and Dave. My name is Portia Morel. I am a PD specialist here at CodeHS. I have been at CodeHS for almost 2 years, and prior to that, I was a computer science teacher teaching 8th through 10th grade, and I've also have experience with the younger grade levels in after school. I do a lot of computer science, but I focus on creative coding and getting students to really get excited about computer science. And Dave, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's David Kleinhans. I was a software engineer and IT person for 23 years, and then I went into teaching for 13 years. And when I showed up at the school, we had one CS class and 6 students, which was kind of sad because it was a middle school through high school. And we built a CS program there that ultimately ended up having 600 students every year with intro, robotics, all the way up through AP. And I did that for 13 years, and I've been at CodeHS for 1 year.
Thanks, Dave. Just to give the same kind of context, I taught at my prior school for 5 years. It was a bilingual school, so it was French and English. And we didn't have really a CS program, so you could kind of say that we kind of built it as we flew the plane and built it at the same time. Students were required to take computer science from 6th through 9th grade as an elective in their schedule, and then they choose to take computer science in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we can actually kind of measure the data to see how many students continue to stay in the pathway. All right, so here is the agenda and access to the slides.
I'll go ahead and introduce myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm the content specialist on computer science and cybersecurity in the Pikes Peak region. I've been building out our courses over here at DCCHS. I have a full 4-course pathway, with each of them offering college credit and industry certifications. And next year will be our 4th course at it, so that means students can earn their PLTW ribbon through it. And my background before that was teaching physics. I am a CodeHS certified instructor, and I have been building out the Python courses with alternative exercises so they can search online using the 14 feature.
Cool. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, and I have a full-time volunteer in my classroom, which is really awesome.
Full-time volunteer?
He's great. He's a retired Java programmer, and the kids love him.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Thank you for introducing yourself, Mark. Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. My name is Mary. I'm working currently in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah, in the CAUS school. She's part of the CAUS University. My role is computer science coordinator from K to 12, which means that I am in charge of building that program for computer science from pre-K all the way to grade 12. So besides helping with that, I'm teaching actually in the high school level. So I'm teaching an intro to computer science course, part of the design course for grades 9 and 10, and then the DP course, computer science course for grades 11 and 12.
Thank you. And we have Bethany, who just joined us. Bethany, welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sorry, I'm late. I didn't realize the time difference. I live in Utah. I am a coding teacher for elementary school.
I've met you before, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
All right, so today here's our agenda, but I'm definitely open to having conversations. I tried to think about things that are kind of top level, but then having discussions within that. So we will talk about the CS landscape, which is pretty much data and statistics. Talk about the different challenges in creating a a CS program, and then solutions and strategies. I have some case studies to share and some resources. And then we have Q&A and wrap up, but of course you can ask questions along the way. And I think all of you may already have a CodeHS account, but if you don't, you can go ahead and sign up by going to codehs.com/sign up. You won't need the actual account to interact with today's session, but if you would like to check out some of the things that I mentioned, you do want to create an account. All right, so for those of you who are new, which could just be those that are watching this recording, CodeHS is a comprehensive platform for teaching computer science in middle school and high schools. And we actually need to update this because it's also elementary as well. The platform for elementary is a little different and doesn't have the freemium side, but we do have elementary options. And everything that we offer is web-based. Curriculum, we do have some things that require you to install something such as like game design, things like Unity, but most of the coding stuff is online. And we offer online and offline professional development, as well as a full software platform for teacher tools and resources. And some of those tools include being able to give instant feedback to students, submissions. We have like auto graders and things like that. The ability to grade and track student work. And like we mentioned before, the ability to pretty much code on the web with any computer. All right, so let's talk about the CS landscape. So these statistics come from the 2023 State of Computer Science report from code.org. Has anybody read this report or heard of it? Okay, so CSTA and the Computer Science Teacher Association and code.org tend to, I wouldn't say yearly, but pretty often come out with reports dealing with the state of computer science or dealing with computer science and education in general. So this is the most recent report that code.org has released. And so I just pulled some statistics from there, but the full report I recommend reading because there are state-specific things that you can also look at for your specific state. All right, so in 2023, this year was the highest growth in percentage in high schools offering foundational computer science since 2018. So we know that the demand and offerings for foundational computer science are increasing. 57% of US public schools offer foundational computer science, which is up from 53% of last year. But there are some disparities that still persist. Across 35 states that have shared data, 5.8% of high school students are actually enrolled in these foundational computer science courses. And across 31 states, at least 46% of middle schools offer a foundational computer science course. Interesting fact about me, I had a computer science course in middle school, and that's how I actually got introduced to computer science. So I think it is important to start at younger ages. Scratch didn't exist at that time, but we had Logo, which was just as interesting. It's very similar to Turtle. So middle school, it's great to see those numbers increasing in offering foundational computer science. All right, some other stats for rural schools, urban schools, and smaller schools are less likely to offer foundational computer science. Black, Native American, and Pacific Islander students do match their population in CS courses, but when we look at on a state level, disparities remain depending on the state that you're in. And then multilingual learners, students with disabilities, and economically disadvantaged students are underrepresented in computer science courses relative to their population. So there is another research report that I'll mention that's from the CSTA that actually talks about ways to try to support students that are underrepresented. And I'll mention it for one statistic, but I do recommend looking at that one as well. And then nationally, 31% of students enrolled in foundational computer science are young women. So we still have a long ways to go to increase that. So like I mentioned before, you should check out this report. And if you just Googled 2023 State of Computer Science report, you should see this. And this is a picture from that actual report because it gives you a breakdown of this high school percentages of that offer foundational computer science. So you can look at your states and see how well your state is doing with computer science. And there's actual more details and breakdowns of what's going on in your state. Like, is computer science required? How close is it to being required? What does the state have when it comes to funding and things like that? So definitely check it out. And then this is kind of giving you examples of what foundational courses mean, because it could be a lot of different things. So I pulled out this list just so you can get a better idea. You have computer science principles, a lot of project lead the way items, C++, Java, business programming, IB courses, AP courses, and a lot of like computer independent study courses, as well as robotics and mobile apps. And I think the last bit is just looking at the teacher and parents' perspective. So teachers' perspective, this is actually from a different survey. So this is the second survey I mentioned, which is from the CSTA. It's called the Landscape Survey for Pre-K 12 CS teachers in the US. And this was made in 2022. So 40% of teachers in lower income schools were the sole CS teacher at their school, and 29% of teachers in higher income income schools were the sole CS teacher in their school. 86% of teachers believe CS is as important as math or ELA, and 85% believe that CS should be a graduation requirement, which is on a state level. And then here are some top challenges mentioned from that survey from CSTA. And these are teachers giving these challenges. So lack of academic priority, lack of hardware and software resources, lack of support, interest, knowledge by administration, scheduling constraints, and too many preps and other responsibilities. So these are some of the things that the teachers have mentioned from that survey. And this was surveyed with 2,200 plus teachers. I think I took the survey as well. And then last but not least, the parent perspective. Out of 9 out of 10 parents say that instruction in computer science is essential use of resources at their school for their child. And the same parents want their child to learn more about computer science in the future. We know in the actual industry of job availability that computer science or anything related to computer science and technology, there will be a lot of jobs available that align with students being able to take these concepts and skills and possibly get a job in that. So there's a high demand outside of just high school or K through 12. And so that is it for just talking about the CS landscape. And let's talk about the challenges. So I only have 4. I turned it into a game. So in the chat, you could try to name the top 4 challenges in building a CS program. If you only have 1, you can just drop that in and we'll see if you can get them. What are the top challenges in building a CS program? Finding teachers, that one's tough. Any other thoughts? Choosing curricula. Yeah. Finding teachers, space, and schedules. All right, so These are actually not ranked. I just have them as the top 4, but in Google Slides, it's just going to reveal all of them one by one, but they're not in any particular order. Informing counselors and admins. University requirements don't require CS. Students prefer to take other courses. Yeah, these are real challenges. So, admin approval, AP desire. So the first one I have is resource limitations, and we'll talk about what that really means. The second one is curriculum development, which some of you mentioned, teacher training and support, and last but not least, student engagement. I chose, well, I didn't really choose these, but I chose to focus more on the teacher sides because I looked to see who signed up for this session. And because many of you were teachers, we looked at the teacher's perspective because some of you might not have the ability to change things on an admin level. All right, so resources and limitations, we're talking about budget, tools, materials, having access to software, internet, all of those things. Curriculum development, we're talking about creating a comprehensive, inclusive, engaging curriculum, choosing which curriculums work best for your students. And then 3, we're talking about teacher training and support and the importance of gaining professional development and ongoing support for teachers, especially because not all teachers are coming directly as like computer science teachers or have computer science foundations. And then last but not least is engagement. So strategies to increase student interest and participation. So we'll talk about these in our solutions, which is next. So this is the part where you all can also share your stories if you have success stories. And then in the Q&A section, you can talk about like things that you're kind of struggling with or having challenges with, and we can have a discussion. So let's talk about funding and resources. So you can receive funding through grants, partnerships, and sponsorships, and some of those grants can actually be on a state level. Your state may also provide CS grants on their DOE's website. We have NSF or the National Science Foundation offer grants as well, but you would need to find someone who's a good grant writer to get a NSF grant. And then CSTA, which is the Computer Science Teacher Association, does also offer grants as well if you look on their site. Sponsorships and partnerships can vary. There are many large tech companies that offer sponsorships and grants, but you can also look on the local level and reach out to your local community to help sponsor to get money for your school or for your district. I will pause here and see if anyone would like to share successes with funding and resources.
Here in Colorado, we get what's called CDIP funds. So the district gets $1,000 for every student who earns a certification off of a list with a limit of 1 per student per year. It has to be on that approved list, and of which our district gives 200 back to me. So I use those funds to go for ones that are pretty reasonably priced, such as the Python Institute's intro level certification, or maybe the Java intro level from the IT specialist from Certiport, and stuff like that. I also have a person from industry who's trying to give us money as well.
Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of that. Just what you said there, Mark, the certifications are becoming a bigger part of CS budgets. I think that's so true. We saw that too. We also reached out at the school I was at to local partners, and we were fortunate. We were in Chicago, and University of Illinois has a large computer science program that's pretty renowned. And so we had a lot of middle schools trying to partner with our high school to get CS help because of shortage of teachers. So we kept moving up the food chain, and we went to University of Illinois, and they turned us on to a university student-run organization that did consulting for outside entities. And they did a consulting project to help us identify resources. We found talent that we would draw into classes when we had weaknesses. So local universities and student communities, university panels, we found to be really helpful. And for money, we tapped into a lot of local companies that were interested in, having STEM. So we would host Abbott Night, and they would donate money that we would use for STEM purposes in our school, from computers to teach CS to an animatage table where they could act like a doctor doing surgery. So those were some that we tried in our area that were pretty successful.
Thanks, Dave.
On a similar note, sorry, Bethany.
You go for it.
Okay. On a similar note, not in this school, but in my past school, we actually had some people from local businesses that were actually alumni from the school that approached us because they were struggling to find even people to work as interns or professionals in computer science for their company. And they decided that the problem was that even from high school, the kids didn't have any possibilities to learn the subject. So they approached the high school offering support to build the program, economical support too, but also training and other stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Here in Utah, I just have a district lady that she does all the grant writing. And she's done an amazing job where it gets me extra money for my classroom to pay for robots and pays my salary too. So there's someone like me at all the schools in my
Maverick
district.
and Deacon, please.
So yeah, I appreciate her.
That's awesome to have a grant writer. I wonder how easy or hard it is to find grant writers that are willing to volunteer to get grant money as well.
Well, she's retiring this year and we're getting a new one, but he's gonna continue with the process. So, and she's already got my grants for next year, so I'm happy.
That's awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I'll also say or mention, because at my school, we kind of tapped into the parents as well, because they are part of the community. So we would normally also just tap in with them to see if maybe they're the company that they work for are willing to help support the school or the district, as well as just getting them involved with kind of increasing the demands and needs of CS in the classroom, because sometimes they're like the greatest cheerleaders for you. So I would recommend tapping into those parents too. All right, number 2 is curriculum model. So even as a CS teacher in the classroom, trying to find curriculum was challenging, and eventually I ended up making some of my own, kind of hybrid. I'd use some of CodeHS's curriculum and then make my own and use other external tools that were block-based that worked well for my students. But there are many free and paid options for computer science curriculum and online coding editors, and one of those includes CodeHS. So in CodeHS, our curriculum, not for K-12, but for 6 through 12, is free. The elementary side is kind of on its own, so it doesn't have a freemium option, but the computer science curriculum for middle school and high school is free to access and use with your students today if you wanted to. The coding learning system is free as well, and there's even a sandbox that I used to have my students use to engage with other things that I'm teaching outside of class. Interesting fact about the coding sandbox now, there is Scratch available on the middle school, high school side. So if you're looking for block-based options, you can use Scratch on that side. And we've mentioned this before, there is the online IDE, which is completely free, which is part of the courses and also as a sandbox. Some other options that we do offer are professional development, which we do in person and online. I prefer in person, but online is also a lot that we do. And we also offer industry certifications. And CodeHS Pro really represents getting more access to teacher tools and resources such as lesson plans, academic integrity. We have some new AI tools and things like that. So that's behind a paywall. But a lot of things for you to get started with CodeHS are free. In fact, when I was in the classroom, I used CodeHS for free. Dave, I know you fought for it so hard to get pro in your school. So we both have two different perspectives, but used the software pretty much the same. I really like CodeHS in the classroom to customize my own things and make it my own for my students and their needs. So yeah, I recommend if you haven't tried using or considering using CodeHS, there are a lot of different things you can do with it. You can use a curriculum right out the box, or you can customize and make your own, and that's completely free. All right, professional development. There are a lot of different things you can do for professional development. So if I did not mention one and you think one is also good, just let me know, or you can unmute yourself and share. I recommend, if you have not already done this, to join the Computer Science Teacher Association, aka CSTA, and also join your local chapter. So every chapter at least has a state chapter or more. There are some states that have to have several chapters based off of region. And they also offer virtual professional learning series for different things like code and play. Every major month, like Women's Month, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, there are themed events that happen. And so that's a great way to network with other CS teachers. The other way you can network with CS teachers as well as build professional development is by attending conferences. A lot of states have CSPD week, or you can do the National CSPD week, which is in December. Or it's not CSPD week, it's like CS Ed week, but you could gain a lot of resources from that as well. The CSTA conference is in the summer. This year it's in July in Vegas, and I think registration is still open. And then on a state or local level, a lot of states have started to create their own conferences for CS. And then another virtual one, which has been pretty cool recently, that has been consistent, is the Scratch conference. If you haven't heard about it before, the Scratch conference is pretty cool, and that's always virtual because it's kind of like an international feel. And then last but not least, you can attend CS events. One of them that I put in in the presentation is from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So I'm a big fan of CS research because you learn a lot without having to do a lot of trial and error. You do still do trial and error when you're picking out curriculum, things like that, but these research seminars are really helpful in understanding how student development works with different tools. There's a lot of different seminars that have happened right now. I think the seminars that are going on are AI focused, but last season's seminars were all elementary, which has a lot of great videos available because they do post the past seminars as well. And then in prior years, they've done a whole bunch of other stuff dealing with CS research.
I think this is the huge area for CS teachers because I think Mark said he taught physics and I did too. And there you're in a community of science teachers, other physics teachers, bio and chem, same in math and English. And often when you're teaching CS, you can be on an island in a school and the school, it's almost like the curling team in the Olympics. Nobody really knows what it is, how it works. You know, you're pushing this puck across the ice, and you need a community of people to bounce ideas off of. So it's really, as a teacher, the first time I may have really jumped into PD hard with CSTA. So I love that recommendation.
Hey, no, don't knock that. I'm Canadian. I know all about that
Yeah,
smart.
I'm Canadian too.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, I'm the resident Canadian here at CodeHS.
Oh, where are you from?
Toronto, and then I lived in Ottawa for a little
Oh my
bit.
gosh, my dad's from Toronto. I'm from DC.
Yeah, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's two of us in the world.
Very cool. This last one, I just realized that I put on here. I don't know if many of you go on X or AKA Twitter, But there are a lot of CS resources on there. Out of all of the social medias, Dave, you could, I don't know if you are on social media like that, but out of all the social medias, I found X to be the most active when it comes to CS education world. So you could look up or follow specific items like Scratch, and you'll see, people posting different things that are going on in their school or things that they've tried. I've found it to be the most valuable resource when it comes to social media and finding CS things. No comment, Dave?
I think you were calling me old by saying, I don't know if Dave does social
I
media.
know it's a personal preference.
I know. I'm I'm more of a, I hate to admit it, I do a lot on Reddit, GitHub. Those are kind of, less on social media, I have to admit.
Fair. Any other PDs that anyone wants to mention? I'm reading the chat as well. Mark, is it the Scratch conference? Yeah. Got it. Yeah, Scratch. I really like the Scratch conference. I think they just started it 2 years ago. And so this might be their third year doing it, or maybe I just only came across the Scratch conference recently.
It's on July 24th and 25th. I just looked it up.
Yeah. I know that they were looking for proposals, so I knew it was coming soon. So it's great to know that there's a lot going on in July. CSTA is, I think, the previous week, and AP, there's an AP conference that's also in Vegas, I think the prior week to that too. What is the big free PD that Finch works through? I'm not sure. Finch created I know they revamped, it is CodeJoy? Oh, interesting. I know Finch revamped their site to have like a lot more PD options, which is pretty cool. All right, so last but not least, because I know we are running out of time, is talking about student engagement ideas. So all of the ideas that I gave, many of them I've tried in the classroom. So starting after school clubs and events, I used to run a Girls Who Code club. I didn't do esports, but I had a colleague who ran the esports club. We never did Technovation, but if you've never heard of it before, it is kind of a similar idea of Girls Who Code, but they actually build a full app and enter a competition. So that one is pretty cool. And then in general, you can just offer coding clubs. I've tried both where I've led the coding club and I've also had students lead the coding club, which has different results, but having students lead something and letting them fail or kind of struggle, but you support them, I think is still a good positive. You can also do hackathons. We've done family coding nights and we've done cool tech panels. We brought like this robot called Bina to the school, and it actually talked to us. It's just like a head and the students were just excited. So just finding ways to get students to get excited about computer science and STEM is a real great way to introduce it. We did a coding afternoon by working with the after school coordinator. There's like a week off between semesters. So we took that week and we picked a day where we knew that this kids didn't have anything to do for after school because after school hadn't ran yet, and we ran a coding after school event. And a lot of students attended because there wasn't anything else going on. So it's like a great way to put something in there. You can add creative coding units. I'm a big fan of creative coding. This is how I've engaged a lot of students who didn't really see themselves as computer scientists or coders. And some of those ideas are like using P5.js, using Scratch, or anything dealing with block-based coding. We've used microbits as well. I like JavaScript and DOM. And what I mean by DOM, it's like adding pop-up button boxes and buttons, something that they can like visually see. Anything with visuals, I think engages students in a different way than just text-based game design, and as well as web design. I used a lot of web design in my 8th grade course, and I had them create a lot of pages that were personal to them or their interests. And a lot of students kind of saw themselves more as coders. And then last but not least, collaborate with other subjects. I used to work with math a lot to create. We had we had one math unit, math and scratch unit in the course for 8th grade. So the students, in order to show their skill set, they had to create like a scratch educational game for younger students as their project, and also work with groups and learn how to be collaborative. And another idea is creating a historical website for a history project, just kind of incentivizing either students or teachers to incorporate their subjects in coding, because that's how students can actually practice their skill set. Since we're pressed for time, I'll open up the floor for like one, if anyone wants to share any other engagement ideas.
I'll just throw one out there, which is I found really successful alumni. Getting older students to come back, or university students, was really powerful. And Bethany, I'm going to Nova Scotia PD this year, so I'm all in on Canada.
Mary, I'm reading yours, and is the beaver competition, am I thinking about this correctly? Is that the one with the logic? Is it that one, or is that a different one?
Yeah, I do that with all of the kids that are starting to take computer science, because they don't need to actually code to participate on that,
Mhm.
but it shows them that it's all about logical thinking, and it gets them interested into coding as well.
Yeah, cool.
Then it's convenient that that one is in October. Then in February is the actual computing competition.
Mhm.
So by then I have some other students that are already coding and want to participate as well.
That's awesome. In my class, I also just kind of like as a low activity, I would always give them some type of puzzle. I liked rebus puzzles. And eventually later on, I would give them those little logic puzzle with the grid. Some of my students love them, and some of them are like, this is too complicated. But um, just introducing puzzles and getting them to think, like you said, Mary, like logical really helps. All right, so I know we're running out of time. So these case studies I won't play, but these are some examples of different districts, schools, and students using CodeHS or have used CodeHS. So this is Washington County. There's a video. We can drop the slides into the chat again if you don't have them. This is an article about Charles, who was a CodeHS engineer intern in 2023, so last summer, and he was part of the Hidden Genius program. Hidden Genius also uses CodeHS as well. So I think it's a really cool story to read. And then last but not least, we have Andrea, who's on the left, who created 2 courses that were cross-curricular. She created a JavaScript and Justice course and a science, space, and coding course using CodeHS curriculum, as well as creating her own inside of CodeHS. And so I just try to highlight something on a district level, something on a teacher level, and something on a student level that uses CodeHS or has used CodeHS in different ways. Resources and tools, all of these are going to different places, such as the Career Center and CodeHS. We have the College Board recruitment tool, as well as 2 resources from CSTA about recruiting and retaining students and using a CS framework. And since we don't have time for that, I'll jump here. We have other places you can engage with us. You become a certified teacher, earn micro credentials, join our Facebook group, and also follow us on social media. And then last but not least, here are our upcoming webinars. We have 2 that are talking about leveraging CodeHS Pro Tools, what's new in CodeHS, and then developing AI literacy, and then the final countdown, how to use Pro Tools to engage students at the end of the year. And you can register at free PD or codehs.com/free PD, or click on the link that Dave has dropped into the chat. And if you're interested, but I think if not, if you aren't already a CodeHS district or school, you can go ahead and go to codehs.com/learn more to learn more about what we can do for your district or school. And I thank you for joining and being engaging. I wish this was longer so that we could have like a longer conversation, but I thank you so much for joining today.